Hey there. So you want to become a job-ready junior developer? Well, you've come to exactly the right place. We're about to lay out a super clear, actionable 4-week sprint to get you mastering GraphQL. You ready? Let's get into it.
So, what's all the buzz about GraphQL anyway? Well, this slide just nails the core problem it solves. With the old way, REST APIs, it's kind of like you go to the library for one specific book and they just dump the entire building on your front lawn. That's called overfetching, and it's a huge waste. GraphQL completely flips that. It lets you ask for exactly the book you want, and only that book. And that precision, my friends, is why this skill is so in demand.
All right, let's dive into our 4-week plan. Week 1 is all about getting the foundation right. The mission here is to really get the language of GraphQL and, maybe more importantly, to start thinking in graphs. So, here's what we're going to tackle. First, we need to shift our mindset a little bit to see data not as tables, but as a web of connected things, a graph. Then we'll get into the schema, we'll write our very first queries, and we'll meet the core data types, called scalars, which are just the basic building blocks, things like strings, numbers, and true or false. First things first, the schema. And this thing, it is the absolute source of truth for your API. Think of it as a rock-solid contract between the front end and the back end. It lays out everything you can possibly ask for and exactly how it all fits together.
And I absolutely love this analogy because it makes it so simple. If you're ever confused about what a schema is, just remember this. The schema is a restaurant menu. It tells you exactly what the kitchen can make. You know what's on offer, and you can't order something that isn't on the list. Simple as that.
Okay, so if the schema is the menu, how do you, order? That's where a query comes in. The query is the actual request you send when you want to read or fetch some data, and you shape it to ask for exactly what you want from that menu.
And this is where the magic of that analogy really clicks. Your query is your specific order. You don't just say, bring me some food. You say, I'll have the burger with cheese, but hold the onions. You get precisely what you asked for and nothing extra. That's the whole power of GraphQL right there.
Awesome. Now that we have the core ideas down, week 2 is all about getting our hands dirty. We're leaving the theory behind and actually building our first simple API.
This week is all about the how. We're going to learn to write mutations, which is how you change data. We'll get into resolvers, which are kind of the brains of the operation, and then we'll tie it all together by spinning up a basic GraphQL server.
So what in the world is a mutation? Well, if queries are for reading data, mutations are for writing it. Anytime you need to create a new user, update a post, or delete something, you're going to use a mutation. Basically, it's the right part of the equation. Create, update, delete, that's a mutation.
Okay, now for the secret sauce that makes it all work. Resolvers. For every single field you define in your schema, you have a little function on your server called a resolver. Its whole job is to figure out how to get the data for that one specific field, whether that means grabbing it from a database, calling another API, or just doing a quick calculation.
So, let's walk through how this actually works, step by step. It's pretty cool. First, your app on the front end sends a query. The server gets it and checks it against the schema to make sure it's valid. Then, for every single field you asked for, the server calls the right resolver. Those resolvers do their job, they go get the data, and finally, the server bundles it all up in one neat JSON package and sends it right back. So clean.
And the best part is you don't have to build all that server logic from scratch. There are some incredible libraries out there that handle the heavy lifting. If you're in the JavaScript world, which a lot of you probably are, you'll be looking at Apollo Server or GraphQL Yoga. If Python's your thing, check out Graphene. And for you Java folks, there's GraphQL-Java.
Okay, week 3, let's do this. We know how to read and write data. Now we're going to level up and look at the stuff that makes modern apps feel, well, modern and fast and responsive. So, this week, we're diving into subscriptions for that real-time magic. Then we'll get serious about performance with caching and batching to keep your API super fast. And, super important, we'll cover how to lock down your API with authorization, so you can control who gets to do what.
Okay, subscriptions are awesome because they totally flip the script. Normally, your app is always asking the server, hey, anything new? Anything new yet? With a subscription, the server can just push new data to your app the second it's available. This is how you build things like chat apps, live score updates, or those little notification bells.
All right, let's talk about something that is absolutely critical: performance. You can't have your app making 1,000 tiny requests to the server. That's where batching saves the day. It groups a bunch of requests into one. And caching is even better. It remembers the answers to common questions, so you don't have to keep asking the database. Seriously, mastering these two is non-negotiable if you want to build a real-world API that doesn't crawl to a halt.
We made it to week 4, the home stretch. This is where we put it all together and focus on the end game, building a portfolio that actually gets you hired.
Look, knowing the theory is one thing, but employers, they want to see what you can actually build. So here are a few killer project ideas. A blog API is a classic for a reason. It touches on everything. A to-do app that uses subscriptions for real-time updates, that's really impressive. Or you could take a public data source, like a movie database, and build your own GraphQL API on top of it.
Now, on the other side of your API, the front end, you're going to need a client to help you talk to it. These tools are amazing. They handle all the tough stuff like caching and managing data for you. Apollo Client is the big one, the industry standard, and a great place to start. But it's good to know about Relay from Facebook and a lighter one called Urquell. You've got to know at least one of these.
And hey, this 4-week sprint is just the beginning, right? So bookmark these sites. The official documentation at graphql.org should be your best friend. For visual guide, roadmap.sh is fantastic. And if you really want to learn, go to the official GitHub pages for these tools and read the code. That's where the real deep learning happens.
Let's put you on the spot for a second. This is a super common interview question. Just take a second and think. How would you answer it? Nailing that question with a simple, confident answer. Queries are for reading data, mutations are for changing data. That shows the interviewer you really truly get it.
And there you have it. That's the sprint. I know it sounds like a lot, but it is absolutely doable. In just 1 month, you can seriously go from knowing nothing about GraphQL to building your own powerful modern APIs. You've got the whole plan now.
So I'll just leave you with this one question. You've got the roadmap, you know the tools, you have the plan. The only question is, what are you going to build first? Go make something cool.